Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of Ridin with Quattro. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please follow me on whatever podcast provider you're using so you can get notified anytime I've got some new content. Ridin with Quattro is weekly. I do hope to get some more content possibly throughout the week when I have some things on my mind. But you'll never know if you don't follow, like, subscribe, ring the little bell, whatever you need to do in order to get notified of when I put new content out there. I am available on all major podcast providers. So if you can't watch me on YouTube, listen to me in your car or wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, because I will be bringing this to you every week. The weather this week is back on the bottom of the roller coaster ride. It was 80 something last week, and right now my car says 36. It was just having some wet snow. So out here in Syracuse, this is what we get in the fall and the winter, in the fall and the spring. So as long as it doesn't go below freezing, I'm okay. I'd hate for my garden to get destroyed by some frost, but this is a very sad week in the racing community. My roots personally are performance rally. I raced in the STPR rally quite a while as a co-driver. I've got lots of friends in the rally community, and unfortunately this week the international rally community lost a driver, Craig Breen, who's currently been racing for Hyundai Motorsports. Was unfortunately lost in a shakedown or a practice event with Hyundai Motorsports. Very sad whenever we lose a driver or a co-driver. Very unfortunate. They actually sat on the podium in Sweden. So he was a very good driver. Not that that really has any bearing on the importance of it, but it's been a tough year. We've lost a couple this year. Actually, we lost 3 that I'm aware of this year. Craig Breen being the latest. Ken Block was killed at his property snowmobiling not that long ago, which was unfortunate. And it's been a tough year. So hopefully we don't talk too much more about topics like that in the future. But it is the nature of the sport. Rally is definitely one of the most dangerous forms of motorsport, and it's just sad whenever we lose somebody. So on to some happier news. I have to ask the question, and I'm gonna do a Twitter poll on this one. Which of the 3 top NASCAR series, so the Craftsman Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series, of the 3 series, which one has the best racing? I think it's safe to say that the Cup Series currently is not the best race on a weekly basis. It should be. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. But which of the 3 top series has the best racing on a weekly basis? What I will tell you, I watched all 3 races this weekend. The Xfinity race, man, John Hunter Nemechek's Burnout was epic. Anytime you can literally burn it down. I mean, that thing was not just a little on fire. That thing was rip-roaring fireball. Kudos to him for just an amazing Burnout I don't know if rubber from the tires got on the mud flaps or what exactly happened there, but he definitely lit it up after that win. So let's talk a little bit about why is the Cup Series not been performing on the level that people expect it to perform. It's a really good question. I think a lot of it has to do with NASCAR stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Denny Hamlin said in his podcast this week that we run a lower horsepower package in order to cut costs for the Cup teams. And he believes that that's one of the major reasons why it's so hard to pass, which makes sense. I mean, if everybody's running on identical equipment, these drivers are all the best of the best. And if they're all driving the same cars, nobody is going to pass. I mean, there'll be some passing. There's going to be inherent reasons. But if NASCAR is looking for exciting, lots of passing racing, I think that they've gone down the wrong road. And it's scary when a premier sports series of any type, NASCAR is the premier American motorsport in America. Just like the NFL is the premier football league, Major League Baseball, NHL, NASCAR is the premier series. So if the sanctioning body is spending more time and effort into cutting costs, I'm not sure that cutting costs is going to provide the best racing. And I think the unfortunate thing on this is by cutting, menial costs in building, and when I say menial, I certainly couldn't afford it. Most people cannot afford to spend the millions of dollars that it takes to bring a car to the track for the season. But the problem is, if people stop watching, then they're cutting revenue as well. And cutting expenses in order to make more money really doesn't always make sense if it's taking away revenue in the process. And NASCAR spent millions and millions and millions of dollars this week advertising Chase Elliott's return. They've been seeing a decline in viewership since Chase Elliott left. Now the question you have to ask is this decrease in viewership because Chase Elliott wasn't racing, or is it because people are getting bored watching these races and they're not watching anymore? Just to throw it out there, I looked at the TV ratings for Martinsville and they didn't go up. They spent all this money advertising, Chase Elliott's back, Chase Elliott's back. There was not an uptick in viewership for Martinsville weekend. So I don't think the problem is the fact that Chase Elliott wasn't racing. I think the problem is the fact that the product on the track is boring. And NASCAR needs to figure that out. And I don't think cutting costs, which from what Denny Hamlin's saying, and it's all I have to go by, is severely affecting the product on the track, people are going to stop watching. And if people stop watching, advertising revenue is going to go down. And advertising revenue is the lifeblood of any form of motorsport. People aren't going to want to put their company names on these vehicles if people aren't tuning in to watch. And a lot of people are saying, well, people are going to streaming, people are watching things on YouTube, people are this, people are that. And that is probably the case a little bit. But the constant decline in TV viewership, I don't think is because people are steadily switching to streaming. I think that people are leaving because who's going to sit there for 3 hours to watch a race that, if you're lucky, maybe the last half hour is exciting. If you're lucky. You know, and NASCAR keeps on doing things to eliminate the entertainment factor in NASCAR. You know, I know it's not the WWE, but sitting there and telling drivers that they can't show any personality on the track, they can't show any personality off the track, they can't show any personality days later in their podcast, like it or hate it, there are a very large number of NASCAR fans that tune in for the carnage. Now, I'm not saying we want to, you know, incentivize wrecking, as we discussed with other things, we don't want people getting injured. Last year there were several injuries, and maybe that's why NASCAR's been clamping down, because the last thing that they want to do is have somebody seriously injured while racing. So I understand that. But at what cost? I think they've gone a little too far on the wrong end. I think TV viewership is the first sign that that's going to be a major problem. And, if more horsepower is going to make these cars harder to drive to where it takes a little bit more skill to separate, the premier drivers from the B tier or the C tier drivers, so that way there's some passing and some excitement. I think NASCAR needs to do it. Now, Denny Hamlin's saying we haven't seen any cost reduction in the new engine cost. And in today's age of inflation, if they haven't seen an increase, that's a decrease. I mean, I don't know that you can really take that factor. I mean, it's been, we're a year and a half into this engine, so think about a year and a half ago, the inflation has gone up dramatically, and costs and everything has gone up dramatically. So if they aren't seeing an increase, then that's definitely a good sign of a decrease. But I don't think that's the answer. I think if they spent $1 million more a year in a higher horsepower engine to get a better product on the track, the returns would be far more than $1 million. That's just my own personal take on that. So next week is Talladega. I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe we'll get a good race there. Hopefully we don't get the follow the leader until the last 5 laps, like what we've been seeing at super speedways. I'd like to see some racing throughout the race. That'd be nice. But, I guess we'll find out. Well, that about does it for this week. Please leave any comments, feedback. Greatly appreciated. As I said earlier, please follow, subscribe, like. Whatever you need to do in order to get your reminders on this every week. Leave comments and feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts, ideas, things you want to talk about. This weekend we've got World Rally in Croatia. So hopefully we'll have some stuff to talk about on that next week. Something non-NASCAR related. And then the week after, there's some American Rally. I would like to incorporate more rally into these podcasts, and we'll definitely be doing that as the opportunities permit. Until next time, see you later.